Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here, another edition of Off the Top Rope. So the ratings have come out again. And once again, despite what, all you morons want to, say, Collision finally beat NXT, when we know, hey, it was just like, a huge lead in from a great NBA playoff game. Once again, and I don't have on record how many weeks this has been, since NXT. Really, I think it's pretty much since the launch on CW. Like NXT is regularly beaten AEW. You guys can say, look, the NXT Men's Division is a disaster. It's Trick Williams, it's Obafemi, you got Javon Evans, you also have Ricky Saints, but there's a lot of people like Ethan Page is kind of worn out as well. He should be on the main roster. Like there is not a lot of like really established male talent in like the big time division of NXT. But the women's division is outstanding. And I've been critical of the AEW women's division. But no matter what you can say about NXT as a show, it is infinitely more interesting when they keep bringing in the same audience. And on some cases, they've grown. And all this talk about how, AEW is restoring the feeling and, is in a good place and has a good stretch of shows. Listen, until they beat, and I've said this before, until they beat NXT once, until they beat them once, legitimately, without a boost or without anything, until they do that, I'm not really going to take anything that anybody there is saying seriously. Like if you're really so great and you really have evolved yourself into being like, a serious promotion, you've got to stop hyping up like, oh, we've increased numbers, we've increased attendance, we've done all this, we've done all that, when you can't beat WWEC promotion with a bunch of your ex-talent there, by the way. That's another big part of this. A bunch of NIL athletes and a bunch of AEW cast-offs that, are doing a hell of a lot better. Like Ricky Saints literally won a championship in 3 weeks there. Ethan Page won a championship in basically inside 2 months. Like, you can't tell me that, and I've said this on a bunch of different things, NXT is a better product than AEW right now. TNA is a better product than, despite having a lesser audience. If TNA actually had a major TV deal, I honest to God think that they would outrate AEW right now. Because there's more interesting stuff going on there. Mike Santana, by the way, don't look now. Mike Santana left AEW and has turned himself into a fucking phenomenal talent. And at some point, he is going to be the TNA world champion. I am confident in saying that. That guy is phenomenal. And the fact that AEW could not figure out what to do with him and Ortiz, one of the great tag teams in the world, and they fell out and they're not a tag team anymore, that is just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But I keep saying this week after week after week after week after week when I do this segment and I talk about, consistently, the ratings and how this actually matters. And you know what? AEW fans and, the people within the hierarchy of that the power structure are going to take serious. Yeah, because we got a bunch of people watching on Max. Guys, I'm here to tell you, nobody fucking even knows AEW is on Max. They mention it, but most of the people are doing it on linear television. They're doing that. I do it mainly because I am a West Coast person, and to watch it live, you have to go on Max or you have to go on the TBS app or whatever. You can find that and you can watch the East Coast feed. I've chosen to do it on Max. But if you want to compare streaming services Max to Netflix, it is not close. It is not close. So if you want to believe that half your audience is also on Max, God bless you. But that's not the reason why you're trailing in television ratings to NXT. You're just not as good of a show as they are. When NXT has a younger roster that, has less experience and doesn't have the level of talent and the amount of money invested into it that you do, that's disappointing. And again, like I said, until AEW beats NXT and starts beating NXT on a serious basis, there's no reason to take them seriously. Like, it's great. Hey, you're catering to a niche audience. But if you want to talk about, like, and all the sickos want to talk about how great things are, guys, you were doing around 1 million viewers on a regular, or like about 800, 900,000 on a regular basis in the heyday of AEW. And now you're settling for under 650. That's what you're settling for, and losing to NXT, the non-black and gold, because you guys beat the black and gold because you basically rated that and you took away basically their style. But Again, this is just it's an incredibly disappointing thing to see that every single week I come on here and you get on my perch and you get on my platform and basically tell you guys, hey, what I think is going on with this place. And when you start off with an 8-man all-star tag that just has no semblance, no story to it whatsoever, just how cool we had a cool Omega and Okada interaction. And you're basically rating your whole women's division and you're not doing anything tangible to build stories from week to week. That's why you're losing out to NXT. That's why you're losing out to NXT. Like you could say, hey, AEW or NXT is taking a lot of AEW stars and you pretty much using the same games. Yeah, but they're doing it and they're establishing them effectively on television, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent or whatever. Like the problem that these people clearly just failed to understand about NXT is they're building for the future. What the hell is AEW building for? They're not building for the future. They're doing everything week to week. They're not building for anything. They have a couple ideas in their heads that are not very good stories, and you have high paid talent that can do whatever the fuck they want. There's no direction and no tangible goal. Like this Death Rider storyline, you could say it's a long term story, but it's not good. Like, at least with people, you could be critical of what's going on with Dark State in NXT. Because I know that's a big common thing. You got a bunch of guys who nobody's ever heard of basically being a Temu Shield. But hey, at least I'm interested in seeing what they're doing, and they're up and coming talent, and they've got a ton of room to grow. And who knows? Maybe Trick Williams is the leader of that group. It's way more interesting than the Death Riders. Even if it's not that great, it's way more interesting because at least there's a lot of mystery and mystique surrounding it. Death Riders is the same shit every single week. So it's just, again, they've refused to change. They stick to like these minimal goals and beating Nitro and doing all this other shit. And it leads to absolutely nothing. And they continue to lose to the C brand. The C brand, who has a bunch of the X talent who you left behind, are doing much better over there. And everybody says, nobody cares about it. People are watching NXT. And you know what would be really interesting? NXT is going up against AEW Memorial Day weekend. Double or Nothing's the same weekend as Battleground. Probably more people are going to watch, Double or Nothing because it's a staple show and there's some big time matches there. But still, NXT is just an interesting product and it's really well run and it's got a great structure to it. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys soon.